talking, you keep quiet.
Morning, Ethel. My, don't you look lovely today?
Poor shit. Now, Sheriff, you better hear me and hear me good. I want this loony bin closed down. Do you hear me, fella? Now, these kids ain't nothing but trouble. They don't respect others' property, and they're all crazy.
You tell 'em, Ma! Ethel, these kids weren't doing...
Doing? You think I don't know what those two perverts were doing in my yard?
Say it like you mean it, Ma!
Would you shut the fuck up?
Welcome to Filmoscopy, a podcast who has 3 loyal listeners, and the rest of you guys, I appreciate you clicking on the video on YouTube. It's a podcast where 3 friends get together and talk about a movie that one of them picks. We alternate every episode, so it's always a fresh picker. Like, you know, picking your nose the first thing in the morning, it's real juicy and comes out, you know. So, wow. That's to really describe this movie we're going to talk about today. It's probably a booger. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce today's guest host. I mean, it's everybody. It's the same guest host, co-host, I guess. A guest host. Sorry, you guys are off. Alex and Jacob joins the call real quick.
We're just guests now. We've been demoted.
Today is my episode, bitch. So Owen, say hello.
Hello.
Cody, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, everybody, that's the episode. Goodbye. So, today's episode will be covering the next installment in the Friday the 13th franchise, Friday the 13th Part 5. But before we do that, me and Cody are going to have a quick little discussion / pseudo review. It's not really a real review of Venom: The Last Dance, and that episode will probably be coming out next year. By the time we get everything recorded and I get through these Friday the 13th episodes, I'm going to subjugate my friends to the Venom trilogy. So Cody, go ahead, lay it all out. Say how you hate the movie.
I don't hate the movie. It was really disappointing. Back when I think part of the reason is
That's enough, Cody. I appreciate it. I'm just kidding.
Back when
it's like, I don't hate the movie. I just really dislike it.
Yeah,
Then he had
strongly.
that little bit of a pause. I should have been like, "Well, thanks a lot, Cody." I was like, I should have made it sound like that was all of his loss. So that was disappointing. All right, back to you, Jim.
You edit his voice. He's like, I didn't hate the movie. I loved it.
But yeah,
Sorry.
so when the first one came out years ago, and there was word that it was going to be a trilogy. Kind of build up expectation, right? So the expectation at the time was that the first one was the origin, the second one was against Carnage, and then the third one would be against Spider-Man. That was also before Sony had renewed their deal with Disney. And
They're at the very beginning of their deal with Disney.
Yeah, so
they had just had 2. It was a 5-movie deal, 3 team-up movies, and 2 Spider-Man movies. And they had just done the first team-up, which is Captain America: Civil War in 2016, and then Spider-Man: Homecoming 2017. So this is 2018, and this is right in the middle of this deal at this point.
Yeah. So
when the first movie comes out, not all 3 of the movies, that would be insane. When the first Venom movie came out, it was 2018, and they were in the middle of this.
Right. And I guess whenever they did the new deal, it kind of fucked up any kind of plan, if there ever was a plan, for Venom versus Spider-Man in this trilogy. Because obviously Sony can't, I don't know, I guess without Disney's agreeing to it, they can't use Tom Holland's Spider-Man in their own Spider-Man villain movies. So I don't know what the plan is now for these villain movies when there's no hero to fight them. But going into it, I already knew that Spider-Man wasn't going to be in it, so I already had lower expectations. And I think a lot of my disappointment with it was that just most of it's boring. Noel is sort of the overarching villain of the movie, but a lot of it is like the more direct antagonist to Venom and Eddie Brock is this military group called Imperium, and that stuff is just so fucking lame to me, especially when you compare it to like Carnage from the last movie. So there's that, and then there were promises of like, oh yeah, a bunch of the symbiotes are going to show up, and the way they do it, I think, is just kind of like rushed and again disappointing because like a lot of them only are on screen for maybe 10 seconds before they get killed, and the ending of it is just like, okay, like that's it. And I guess from interviews we knew that Tom Hardy was done with the solo Venom movies, unless something else comes along that just entices him to come back to it. And but then they tease Noel at the end for being like a bigger villain, but it's like you're teasing Noel to be a bigger villain, but for what reason? Because again, you obviously can't use Spider-Man without Disney's like agreeing to it now. So what the fuck is the point? I mean, are you gonna have Noel and like send the Xenophage or whatever, and it end up fighting fucking Kraven the Hunter? I don't understand what the plan is here, and it just
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it just overall, like for what felt like
Sorry.
the movies that were like kind of like anchoring Sony's Marvel universe that they have going on, especially because the rest of them have just been disappointing, like super fucking bad, really, so far. It just felt like a lackluster end to it. So,
Feel you, man. Now I have, and this is going to be astonishing to some people, because it's the last episode we recorded is an episode you're going to hear after this episode. So in real time, I ran out of time because I was dicking around on my research for Friday the 13th Part 5. So Cody took the spot in our recording rotations, and we recorded Saul. Saul will be released after this. So there's going to be some like retroactively like weird, like, I thought he said he only seen the movie this amount of times. I just got done seeing Venom: The Last Dance for my 4th time. Now a lot of people say, why would you see a movie that many times? One, it gets me out of the house. Because usually on my Saturdays, I lay around in bed till like 2 o'clock in the fucking afternoon, and I watch TV and then I record the podcast. So I don't have really much to look forward to or much that I want to get out of bed for. As I described before on the show, excuse me, I got some cough. I don't know. I still got a chest cough. It's been a couple weeks. Venom is my favorite comic book character. So the fact that I got a Venom trilogy is astonishing to me. Like a Venom trilogy without Spider-Man. Now, anybody will sit there like and there's a lot of haters. See, at this point, it's been for like the last, I'd say 8 years. There's been this public almost bullying of Sony trying to get them to give Spider-Man back to Marvel. And that's what me and Cody were against for the most part. I mean, I understand Marvel makes better comic book movies. Of course, the last, 6 or so have been kind of lackluster. It's one of those things people, they didn't want to see this. Venom can't work with Spider-Man. Well, I am proud to say, approaching $1.8 billion in grossing for a Venom trilogy. We'll sit there and say Venom does work without Spider-Man. The Venom stories that they were trying to put together were Lethal Protector, I want to say Maximum Carnage, and Planet of the Symbiotes. Noel was a character that was established in 2018 in the comic books, so he was just recently created in the last 6 years. So that's why they couldn't really use him in the first 2 movies or didn't know where that story was going. And now they're like, oh, hey, look, this guy can be like our Thanos because he's actually outside of everything. Like Gore the God Butcher. If you watched Thor: Love and Thunder, which I've watched clips of, I've never watched all the way through, that Necro sword that Gore has, he actually gets from Noel. That's Noel's sword. And that's what would explain why you got that black, cartoony looking shit that comes with a sword in that movie. It's supposed to be symbiotes. So they want to establish him as the big villain because they want to still continue on with the Sinister Six movie, and they want to talk about doing an Agent Venom movie. Now, Cody, in the movie, there's a soldier that's about to get eaten by the Xenophage, but he ends up only getting his legs ate off. That's supposed to be Flash Thompson. So he's going to be Agent Venom.
Gotcha.
So that's where that's going because Tom Hardy, I mean, this is what happens when you have an actor who likes to play a variety of roles and doesn't like to be like anchored down to a lot. He signed on for 3 movies. He made an appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. And, you know, he's done his part of the gig. You know, Jared Leto signed on for a couple pictures for Morbius. That didn't really work out. Kraven the Hunter, I still think looks kind of promising. We'll see.
Madam Web is never coming back since. I mean,
No.
it's a terrible
The
movie,
only-
but Dakota Johnson also like just dog walked that fucking movie during the entire press tour for it. So
Yeah, I mean, the only way you're going to sit there and have people like want to see a second Madam Web is if you have Sydney Sweeney just fucking take her tits out of the Spider-Man suit.
the only
So
thing I
it's
could
like,
ever see spinning off of that,
Is those
spinning
titties.
off of Madam
Awesome.
Web is if they decided to like go and make a Spider-Woman movie with one of the 3 that were in
Yeah.
With
in it.
titties.
Titties. Sydney Sweeney preferably. But in all reality, so the deal with Disney now and Sony is, from what I understand, is I think Disney shares more of the financial burdens of the movie, and they also split the profits. I don't know if it's more evenly. That's never been publicly disclosed because originally Sony paid for all of the movie, and they got back 95% of the gross, and Disney got 5%. But now Disney knows that Sony needs them, so they wanted to do a different deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kevin Feige has said, you know, that Venom, and he had to see Venom was going to be successful before he wanted, like, anything. I definitely don't think he wants Spider-Man and Venom to touch with Sony's hands completely directing it. So I think that when it comes to Secret Wars, there may be a Venom cameo because in Spider-Man No Way Home, the bonus scene, Venom leaves a piece of the symbiote. Now, they try to sit there and say they retconned it in Venom The Last Dance. Eddie gets sucked back into his universe and then leaves that piece of the symbiote. I think he leaves 2 pieces of the symbiote behind.
Yeah, he does. So the trailers, I think, were intentionally misleading because he's in that bar, he gets sucked back into his universe, leaving a piece of it behind in like the MCU's, like, I don't know, prime timeline or whatever the fuck it's called, the golden timeline, and then he leaves another piece at the bar in his own universe when he leaves the coin.
Yeah.
And in the trailers, all you see is that the soldier, the guy that's like in charge of him or whatever, he shows
Rex
up.
Strickland.
Yeah, he shows up and he like takes it up in a tube, and that's all you see in the trailer. Well, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, they're retconning it," but it's not. That's him taking it from their own universe. The other piece is still in the MCU universe or whatever.
Now, I'm going to say it's weird because, I mean, it's a comic book character, so they write it so many different ways. When a piece of the suit is left behind, I always thought that became the offspring of Venom. Supposedly, the symbiotes have a seed that they can expel, and that's what becomes another symbiote. So, in like the Carnage, it left behind the seed, and it turned into a symbiote that absorbed Cletus Cassidy and became Carnage. And for the 5 Life Foundation symbiotes, which are Agony, Scream, Lasher, Phage, and Riot, those were 5 more seeds that were forcibly extracted from the Venom symbiote.
Yeah, because Venom.
So that's how it goes in the
Venom
Do
said,
it.
"Let's start a riot, a riot."
That's pretty good. So I'm trying to think here. Like, so that's how it goes in the comic book. So I think it just depends on how they want the story to go. Like, Cletus bites Eddie's hand, and Venom Let There Be Carnage. He has a piece of his blood on his mouth, and then the blood turns into a piece of symbiote. He swallows it becomes Carnage. They don't really talk about it until the end, where Carnage calls Venom father. So that's his son. So I would think that the piece of symbiote that Venom left behind for Marvel and for its own movie in this movie, the little piece would be Venom's son. But what they're doing with this is, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched that, just skip over the next like minute. When the symbiote gets killed, there's a, if you watch to the very end post credits, there's a scene where the bartender escapes the bunker and you see Area 51's been completely destroyed. You know, he's been down in the bunker, didn't know what the fuck's happening. And then there's a black cockroach that crawls out of the tunnel, and that's the piece of the Venom symbiote bonded to the cockroach. So Venom's not dead. And if you remember in the first Venom movie, Cody, hold on, let's see here. Oh, my mom's just texting me. The Venom symbiote gets completely burned off of Eddie because he's by the rocket when it explodes. He's falling off the rocket, but there's a piece of him that's still inside and can regrow. And like, there's another example in the comics where like Carnage is eaten by Venom, so Cletus Cassidy has no symbiote. But then he goes to a alternate dimension called the Negative Zone and finds a red symbiote that becomes a new Carnage. Well, they retconned that explanation, saying that symbiote was absorbed by the remnants of the original Carnage symbiote in his bloodstream and was just overtaken. So that's how he is still Carnage. So you can do like this. So it just depends on who's writing.
Yeah,
do what?
It's just so confusing.
It is. I mean, just different writers, different instructions for Marvel when they wrote the comics in the 90s and 2000s and all that, how that works. Sony is very... I will say this. People hate on Sony. I don't think Sony has the creative direction to put out great comic book movies. But I do think they can put out solid to decent comic book movies. And I think they're trying. They do need a creative leadership other than Ari Avad and Amy Pascal in charge to do their movies. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to. And the same thing, like the Venom movies.
Well, Ari Avad is so full of himself when it comes to the Marvel movies that he's been involved with that he'll never. I mean, what was the movie? What was the movie that when it ended, there was like a special thing in the credits? It was like to the greatest true believer of all, and it was like, oh, they must be honoring Stan Lee, and it said Ari Avad at the end. I was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me right now?
Well, I'll say this: I know everybody hates Ari Avad, but Ari was partners with Stan Lee. He's if you look at the Marvel cartoon, the Spider-Man that came out in the '94 to like '98. Him and Stan Lee were the co-producers of that show. It was ended because they got into a disagreement. Avi owns a toy company, and he wants to be able to make these things and turn them into toys so he can make more money off of them, which in reality is a smart business concept. People just don't like to have that light shown on them being complete fucking nerds buying this shit, but we will. But Avi, I mean, he was the producer on all 5 of the Spider-Man movies, and he has a credit. I mean, Kevin Feige was on his production team for the Spider-Man movies. Kevin Feige, before Iron Man, was a creative producer for all the X-Men movies, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. He was on set for all of them. He was the comic book resource guy. So, I mean, there is that. And they do need a Kevin Feige. But then again, Sony Films is a small division of Sony themselves. So it's just something they play around with. They do make a bunch of money off of it with Spider-Man. He's the most amazing part of their property. But, you know, I will say this because Venom just passed $400 million. And it's on track to pass $500 million before it's done. And when it does that, the second movie made like $506 million. Let's say if this makes $500 million, that's $1 billion plus another $856 million that the first one made. So it's almost made $1.9 billion as a franchise, like a trilogy, which is amazing because you know who didn't get a trilogy? Wonder Woman. Superman didn't get one in his latest excursion. Ben Affleck's Batman didn't get a trilogy. Aquaman didn't get a trilogy. Flash didn't get a trilogy. Green Goblin's not getting a trilogy. They made something work that wasn't supposed to work because online it was like, oh, this movie's going to fail. It's not going to make any money, nothing like that. And the first movie makes $856 million or something like that. Like, it made $20 million less than Batman versus Superman. And those are the two biggest superheroes of all time in one movie.
Why ask for trillions when we could ask for billions? Trillions is more
also,
than billions, you moron. It's from Austin
But
Powers.
also, I mean, Sony's made a shit ton of. I had an argument with somebody who was saying, "Look, oh, this movie's not gonna make any money," or and he kept commenting back to me. He goes, "Oh, you need to stay on topic. I'm not talking about the other two movies." I'm like, "Dude, you want these movies to fail? I get it." And then he blocked me after he tweeted me 2 more times. But beautifully, I will say the one feature I like that's been updated on X/Twitter is if someone blocks you, you can still go look at their feed, and you can still see the bullshit they're talking about. But yeah, so in about a year, when everything's said and done with these movies, the Venom movies will probably be trotting out on my end because they're going to be easy to cover. They're only an hour and a half long. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, we need to cover Batman 2 if it's going to be 3 hours and 45 fucking minutes. Woohoo! So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would recommend anybody just go and see it. It's a fun movie. Don't expect you're going to go watch The Dark Knight Rises or you're going to go watch Return of the Jedi. You're watching Venom 3. It's goofy. The best parts of the movie is Eddie Brock and Venom. And at least you nailed the title character, because if everything else was great and the title character sucked, kind of like the Book of Boba Fett, like everything else in that show was okay. Boba Fett kind of sucked because they didn't know what to do with him. And I think you did okay. So, all right. Well, now that we're done with that, we will be discussing for the next 4 hours Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Well, before I get into my
The
first
finalist final chapter.
the final chapter.
Final
Before I
chapter
get into
The
before I get into my experiences with this film, I'm gonna go with you guys first, and then I have I would say, a journey through time to talk about something that I was trying to find in these Friday the 13th movies. So, Owen, what was your first experience with this movie?
I don't think I'd ever watched this before. But I will have to say, before we even mention it, that going into this, I didn't know if this was the one, but I did know about one of the movies having a twist where you think it's supposed to be Jason, but it turns out it's not. So,
what a twist.
Yeah, I did know like a little while after. I was like, oh yeah, this is that movie.
Okay.
So I just want to let that be known. But other than that, I'd never watched this before. With, like I said, with most of these Friday the 13th movies, this is my first time.
Okay. All right, Cody, sir. I know you've seen a couple of them on broadcast television, and you've had a Blu-ray set and possibly a DVD set in the past. But what was your first experience with this film itself?
Watching it today. So this is one of them that I don't think, at least watching it, I do not recall any of the moments from the movie, like having seen them before. Like I said before, a lot of them I'd seen bits and pieces of them on TV, but this is one I didn't recognize any of the scenes. And yeah, I did know about the twist though, about it not being Jason as the killer, and watching it through today, it's like, oh, like even if you didn't know the twist, you probably should still think that there's something kind of off.
Yeah, the mask is different,
Well,
and they're
they're
definitely trying to play around with like being like, is Tommy killing these people?
Yeah, there's that, and then there's there's a couple other random characters in the beginning that kind of act weird. Like the other paramedic even just kind of acts weird. But what I mean is, like, when he's walking around dressed like Jason, like, for one, Jason's eyes are all fucked up, right? And like, if you,
yeah, he makes his face like he's like really surprised. He's like, duh.
well, like you're looking through the mask, right? Because his eyes aren't really like where they're supposed to be. But this guy has normal eyes, so like he can see through the both holes in the mask just fine. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that, and like even just the way that he looks, like his body, his build is just different. So it's like, okay,
He's built different, you could say.
You should like be suspecting that there's something off about this Jason, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with you saying the paramedic thing, I didn't pick up on that. I didn't know who it was, but I thought it was really funny, the reveal, because it's like the most like fucking like non interesting character I think you could probably pick. Like, it's this guy who's like would just be a background like extra in any other movie.
Well, in the beginning,
he's the killer.
In the beginning, like when the paramedics are there, like getting that first body that the wood chopper guy.
Yeah, he makes like a little face.
Well, even the other paramedic. That's what I mean. Is like there's a few characters in the beginning. Like besides, there's Tommy. And then both paramedics, because the one guy's like kind of like laughing and smiling and stuff about
He's
the body.
A psychopath.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the things that's funny about this movie. Is like, I swear to God, every character in this movie is a psycho.
Yeah, and
like they're all just malicious like assholes.
Well, and when I was watching, I was like, okay, I know it's not really Jason, so I'm trying to pick out who it is. That the first paramedic starts like doing all that laughing. I'm like, oh, it might be him. And then the other one has this like just stoic look on his face before the scene ends, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's him. Like
that scene was so funny. Like most of this movie, the scenes are like, it's like something you would see like in Scary Movie or something. But when he like lifts up the fucking town, it's like the most gruesome dead body ever, and he's like, heh, pussies. It's so fucking goofy.
All right, cool. Well, for me, for my first experience, I watched a lot of these movies out of order. Like I said, my grandma, can't remember, I guess maybe I was around 9 or 10 years old. She was starting to collect them on VHS because I'm so old. So my first one I watched the first 10 minutes of it, and then I ended up finishing it up later, was Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason lives. And then I watched Friday the 13th Part 2 at some point, and then probably Part 4, then Part 3, then Part 8. I remember having an argument with my grandma. I was like, this isn't the one after Part... She thought we were watching Part 8. Like when she bought... Part 7. She thought when she bought it, it was just Part 7. I'm like, no, Grandma, this is Part 8. I mean, she had me doubting, and I was counting the Roman numerals on the thing. I'm like, yeah, it's 8. So she eventually got 5 and 7. So I got to a point that I had seen all of them, but 5 and 7. Now in commercials or in like spoofs, like in The Simpsons, there's a scene in Christmas Vacation, and in like spoofs, like you see there. I remember there was a commercial about someone picking up a hitchhiker, and it's supposed to be like a scary commercial. Not a scary commercial, but it's like a funny commercial about a scary guy they pick up. In all these scenarios, you see somebody with a hockey mask and a chainsaw. So I remember asking my grandma, I'm like, does Jason ever use a chainsaw? Like, why would everybody be using a chainsaw with a hockey mask? It doesn't make any sense. Because I know Leatherface uses a chainsaw. Does Jason does too? I mean, I don't know. So I'm trying to hunt down, like as I'm watching these movies, I'm paying attention to every scene. I'm like, does he use a chainsaw? I gotta fucking know. So we get down to 5 and 7. And I don't know if my grandma said, I don't know if she told me or she didn't remember if this is the one that had the fake Jason in it. Because she was like, she's like, there's a reason why I don't like this movie. I can't remember. And she'd only seen it the one time in theaters. And this movie came out in 85. So we're talking 96, so like 11 years later. 96, 97. So, she was like, there's a reason why I don't like this movie. I can't remember why. And then it kind of dawned on her while we were watching it. And then you see this chick, use a chainsaw on the fake Jason. I'm like, so that doesn't really count. So there's one movie that Jason may or may not use a power tool that's kind of like a chainsaw. And if you think about it, he's a dumbass that's raised in the woods. He would not know how to use this weapon, but he uses it anyway in Part 7. But that's for another discussion about 2.5 months. So yeah, I watched this movie kind of late in the game. I had already watched 4 and 6, and then 3 and 2 and 1, and then even 8 before I watched this one. I'll say this: There is like this movie is the last one that feels like it could have been filmed in like 1979. Like me and Alex have talked about this. Alex from I'll Take Three. Go ahead, Owen.
3 what?
Okay. He was our guest host on the Friday the 13th Part 4 episode, final chapter. But this is the last one that feels like it was filmed in like it could have been filmed in the early 80s, or like late 70s. And like Part 6, which literally comes out the next year, there's something to me that's different about the camera that it feels like this movie could have been shot in like 89 to like 93. Like it's just something different about it. I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys will pick up on it. Maybe it's
I
just
guess
me when we get to
you
it.
could. Yeah, I mean, this one feels a lot more like late 80s to me than like early 80s. I mean, because you have the dude dressed as like Michael Jackson, and then you have the girl doing the robot and shit.
I mean,
you just meant like the camera quality and shit like
yes, the camera quality.
that. Yeah, we'd have to see the next one for me to be able to compare, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, there's like I don't mean like I don't understand the characters. I mean, you got somebody that looks like Michael Jackson. You got other guys look like they can be off the set of Grease.
Yeah,
and,
you got the 50s greasers and shit for some reason.
I mean, it's pretty fucking funny, but like yeah, for some reason, like in Part 6, like it just changes. Like if you watch Halloween 1, 2, and 3, they feel like they could be 10 years older than Halloween 4, which came out in '88. And there was a 6-year gap, but like Halloween 4 has that similar camera quality that changes. I don't know what it is now. Like if you watch Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, that camera quality looks like something off the Sci-Fi Channel. It's so funny that Paramount hated this franchise so much, but they made the best movies out of the whole bunch. Like New Line, the home of horror, like the house that Freddy built. They get Jason, they put out absolute bullshit movies that suck. But yeah, so like this was my first, like I've seen the other movies. I got to this one, like, oh, the reveal, it's not really Jason. But I do have some notes. I don't know if I'll talk to you guys about this. Do you think if I'm just like kind of going overboard? So when I do my research for this movie, for my movies, I try to pick up all the special features that I have available to me. So I have the Blu-ray collection from Shout Factory of Friday the 13th, which has its own disc that has all the special features from the other previous bulk releases of these movies. Then I have the Crystal Lake Memories documentary, which is like a 7-hour thing talking about the entire franchise, which goes in depth, which is really nice. I also have the book, which I have the book at my house, my dad's house somewhere. I got to find it. And then you have all the audio commentaries. I watched this movie 3 times yesterday. One with the commentary with the 3 female actors and the producer of the documentary. And then another one with the director. And then I watched the movie itself. Am I going overboard with this? Because I'm kind of burning myself out.
No, you're good.
No, yeah, you're good.
Okay. I just want to make sure, like, it sounds like I know what like. If I don't know what I'm talking about, I feel like my episode sucks. So, all right. So we're gonna get into this. Go ahead and do a little box office. Friday the 13th Part 4 was supposed to be it. Frank Mancuso Jr., the producer, didn't want to do any more of these. They wanted to send Jason out on a high note. Unfortunately, the high note made enough money that they're like, we gotta make another one. So it's Friday the 13th, Just Kidding, Part 5. And let's see here. Got that. So this movie had a $2.2 million budget and had a box office of $21.9 million, which the last movie made almost $40 million. So it didn't do great. The director is a man named Danny Steinman. And Danny Steinman was a porn director. If you didn't notice watching this movie.
Yeah, I heard something about, I don't know, when they were filming one of the scenes, I guess he was like being an asshole or something to like them when they were pretending to fuck.
No, he was telling her, like, grab her pussy, strike her ass, and shit like that. So,
Grab her by the pussy.
um,
Do it.
so here's the funny part, I think, about this. So I haven't really mentioned them because I can't remember their names, and they're only mentioned a few times. But there are three guys back in Boston who are ultimately the financial backers of these movies. They're the invisible hand that's kind of guiding everything. They're the ones that hired Danny, and they gave Danny, according to the commentary on the movie, they gave Danny two, how do you put it? Two things he has to have in these movies. So every 7 to 8 minutes, there must be a jump scare, kill, or something big that happens, and they want to make Tommy the killer. That was how the whole setup was in part 4. You know, Tommy's staring at the what do you call it? The screen. That's what it's like. Oh no, he's gonna turn into Jason. It's kind of, I don't know, man. Like I said, I watched this movie, and I think Jason. I will give them credit for continuity. Like when you see the Jason visions, I mean, he's still wearing the same clothes he had in 3 and 4. He has the hockey mask. You see the blood coming from his eye and from the top of his head. And the mask looks like the mask from part 4. So the continuity looks great on that. It's weird. This guy, and it's not his fault, John Shepard, who's playing Tommy in this movie.
Commander
He's
Shepard?
supposed to be 17 years old, but he's got
He
a
looks like he's
skull
like-
receding hairline.
Yeah, he looks like he's like fucking 28 or something.
Yeah, so you think the time jump is like, whoa, this is a lot of fucking time. In reality, it's only 5 years because part 6 takes place a year later, but they never talk about that.
Well,
That's what I thought.
Let's touch on the age thing because I texted you the other day about a similar situation, Lance, where
Okay, you're going to have to refresh me. What were we talking about?
I watched Dr. No for the first time ever because I noticed that
Dr.
the
what?
Dr. No.
Okay, got you, my bad, yeah.
And
yeah. Okay.
that's the first 007 movie for anyone who doesn't know. But Sean Connery is James Bond in the movie, and the movie released in 1962. And while I'm watching it, I'm thinking, God, Sean Connery already looks like he's in his like early 40s or something at this point. I look up how old Sean Connery is in that movie. He is 32 years old. And it's like, I don't understand what it was back in the day that actors
Smoking.
He fought in the war, dude.
Did he actually fight in the war? Because I don't think so. He would have been like,
I think
he would have been
hold
like
on. Yeah,
12
no,
when World War II was happening.
He joined the year after the war ended in 46. He joined the Navy. I'm looking it up right now. So
And I've also said, like, I will say this to all my balding brothers out there. A receding hairline will make you look older.
Well, with Sean Connery in that
he
movie,
looked older.
and in that movie, it's
Do
also
what?
like his face. Like it looks like his face is like more like
Leathery.
leathery. Yeah.
Well, you gotta understand, he was a chain smoker too. Smoking ages people.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes you look fucking like rough and shit like that. And like I said, his hairline did him no favors. And at some point, he started wearing a toupee in those movies because he was already bald. John
can't
Shepard
have
in
a
this movie.
bald James Bond. What the fuck?
I know. John Shepard, who plays Tommy in this movie, like I said, I think he does a good job, like, looking like a trauma patient. Like somebody that's, like, dealt with some shit. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, it's just weird when you see the guy who plays Tommy in the next movie. He looks younger than John Shepard. It's because his hair's not thinning as bad. I mean, I noticed these kind of things, but John just looks like you wouldn't say he's 17 years old and Tommy was 12 years old in the last movie.
Yeah.
Tommy Jarvis looks like he's 10 in that movie, and he looks like he's fucking 21 in this movie at least.
Yeah, I
But
thought there was
that's
like
what it's supposed to be.
I thought there was
Go
like
ahead.
a substantial time jump, and I was like,
About 5 years.
I was thinking, yeah. Well, I was thinking the same thing I always think when I see these movies, and I'm like, or whenever I see a movie where like there's a time jump between the first movie and the second movie, but they're released not far apart, and they like still have the same like technology level, I guess. And it's
Yeah.
always like, what the fuck? Like, okay, so he was like, and the kid, he was in the 80s, but now he's an adult and he's in the 80s still. Like,
I know. It's funny. Like you can just tell it's just one of those like half brain ideas. Like, there's no forethought going into it.
There's a lot of those in this movie.
Oh yeah. So let me get into some of my notes real quick before we start talking about the plot. So this is from my bonus disc of the Blu-ray set I got from Shout Factory. And from the Friday the 13th Chronicles, which is from the original 2004 box set that Paramount released, that had the first 8 movies, which I still have that set. I remember seeing it, getting so stoked and buying it. It's like, I got all the Jason movies on DVD that really fucking mattered. Corey Feldman was in the middle of shooting The Goonies at this point with Steven Spielberg. So
he really missed out. He should have.
He should have just left and said, "I want to do this movie."
He's like, "Yeah, no, Friday the 13th. That's where the money is.
Yeah,
fuck this Spielberg shit."
Yeah, they filmed this in his backyard, didn't they? Like his scene.
Yeah, well, he says it's his neighbor's backyard. Danny Steinman, the director, said, "I bet my life that it was his backyard." So I don't know how the story goes, but he did this in one day, and all you see is. Like, on the thing Tommy does that Corey's filming is his head is in the bushes, and there's water pouring down on his face. And he's, like, getting cues from the director. There's no Jason walking towards him, nothing. He's like, he's coming here. Start acting like this. Start doing this. It's a skeleton crew doing this because he's doing this on Sunday. He was working 6-day sets with Spielberg, so there was a time where he worked 13 days in a row without a break, and that 7th day in the middle was the day he was filming this one part. He couldn't get out of it, so they had to pivot and do a different story.
Damn, doesn't that like break child labor laws and shit?
I mean, it was 1985, man. I don't think there was
the hell, Spielberg, you motherfucker.
Yeah, it didn't fall in that sweet spot before, in between when child labor laws existed and when they started to deteriorate thanks to the Republican Party.
Yes. So they hooked up a water hose to a sprinkler system in like his neighbor or his backyard, and that's what's pouring over him. So the scene where Tommy's walking through the trees, I wouldn't call it a forest because it doesn't look very populated for a forest, but he's walking through the trees and it's pouring rain, and those back shots you see of the raincoat is actually like a 55-year-old lady who's short that's walking. And then
yeah, you could tell it wasn't a child for sure, like in those shots. So,
and the guy who's playing Jason in that scene, I think is a stunt guy. It wasn't actually the guy who was playing Jason in the other visions and the fake Jason, Tom O'Gara. So I can't remember who that was. I thought I had it written down somewhere. Let me see. Oh, baby. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, that is funny. I gotta say that.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, I didn't get it down, unfortunately. But it's a different person for sure. So, for the Crystal Lake Memories, Frank Mancuso came up with the title "A New Beginning." At this point, Frank Mancuso was like, "Look, I'm gonna let somebody else do what they want to do with the franchise. I'm gonna kind of just take a step back, not be on set every day," because he wanted to move on and do other things. And then they hired Danny, and Danny had all these ideas, and he goes, "I didn't want to step in, and I didn't want to be like, okay, I'll let you guys do this, but then step in and go, no, you can't do that." So he's like, I was just gonna let him do his thing. And with some people, Danny came off as very coarse. Some people love Danny. The women, I don't think necessarily like Danny too much. I know the main lady who played Pam, which I'll get into her name a little later on. She didn't really like Danny because Danny was just he's up front. Listening to him on the commentary, he sounds like a dude that would make a lot of other dudes laugh, but not necessarily the women, so it kind of makes sense. Let's see here. Danny Steinman, porn director.
What did he do after this?
I don't think he did anything else after this, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Let's see here. So Dick Warlock, he was the stunt coordinator in this movie. Dick Warlock played Michael Myers in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, not the Rob Zombie one. So it's pretty cool. There's a picture in Crystal Lake Memories that Tom Mogara, I think is how you say his name. He's dressed up in the Jason costume, not the fake Jason costume, but he's dressed up in the Jason costume, holding his hockey mask. And Dick Warlock is dressed up in the Michael Myers costume, holding the Michael Myers mask from Halloween 2. And it's a pretty cool little behind the scenes pic. Like, they're all smiling and shit. I'm like, oh my god, that's fucking cool as hell. The scene where Tommy's looking down into the yard and, he has that vision of Jason staring up at him. That
Yeah.
scene, there's nobody up in the window. Tom is in the Jason costume staring up at the window. Well, Dick is in the window making faces and then mooning him. So he's trying not to laugh on camera because as they're filming this shit, he's supposed to just kind of stand still and stare. He's over here just doing shit. So I thought it was pretty cool that they're at least having fun on the set.
That's funny.
The code name for this movie, when they were giving out, they were hiring people, was called Repetition. They didn't want to say it was another Friday the 13th. Part 5 has one of the biggest kill counts in the series. I think it's got like 22 kills or something like that. The diner scene where the chick and the guy in the car get killed with the axe, that was originally written in the Part 4 script. So they added it to this script. Now I think the guy who wrote it for Part 4 got a story credit for this, just for that spot. Let's see here. The guy, the cinematographer Bruce Green, did not know what the fuck to do with what Danny wanted to do, because Danny had all this porn and all this shit, and Bruce was talking in an interview. He talked to Frank. He goes, "I don't know how to shoot this," and Frank just kind of put his arm around him and says, "Well, just shoot it like a Pepsi commercial." I don't know what the fuck that means, but he's just like, "Just shoot like a Pepsi commercial." Let's see here. So the commentary on the Crystal Lake, those are the notable notes I got from it. The commentary on that spot, because on Crystal Lake Memories, you watched a clip that's about 20, 25 minutes, then you can go back and rewatch a clip with audio commentary from the creators of it. You could definitely tell the guys who put together that documentary and that book did not like this movie. They said Danny Steinman was kind of hurt by the backlash from the fans because this was the Halloween 3 of the Friday the 13th movies. There's no Jason. So it's like, fuck, dude. You can tell it's kind of... it hurts the next movie. Even though the next movie has Jason Lives in the title. The fans wanted to see Jason. These movies are a good time. It's not about, we got to make a cohesive story that follows movie to movie to movie. No. This is about having fun, having a bunch of kills. Because there's at no point in the Friday the 13th movies are you scared and taking this shit seriously. Oh my god, I can't believe this is actually going to happen. No, it's straight up.
I was scared
when movie.
I was scared when I thought that guy was going to shit his pants from the enchiladas.
That shit was, dude. That's me every time I gotta go poop. I'm like, oh no.
I said, oh god, I hope he makes it.
Dude, I'm gonna I'm gonna mess with Savannah from now on. She's not gonna get the reference. She's seen this movie one time, and with the set of boobs in this movie, she's never gonna want to watch it again. I'm just gonna be like, oh, it's those damn enchiladas every time I'm running the toilet.
It's those damn enchiladas.
So, the script. Okay, the script also had pieces of the Part 3 script, because originally Part 3 was going to be Jason was chasing the chick from Part 2 in a mental asylum. So this is kind of a halfway house for these kids who are trying to re-enter society. They've had trauma or they've had some violent crimes they've done. So this is kind of taken from that. So I think the Part 3 guy got a story credit. The movie had a great first weekend, but then it dropped off at the first weekend because word of mouth, oh, this is not Jason. So at that point, it was just kind of I mean, if I feel bad, they still made good money off of it. I mean, $2.2 million, another $1 million for, not even probably $1 million at the time, but another $1 million for promotion. You still made $21 million. It's not bad. So the commentary from the actress Melanie Kineman, who played Pam, Deborah Voorhees, who played Tina, with the biggest set of knockers you will ever see in a movie that are natural. And then Tiffany Helm, which is Violet, the chick who does the robot dance.
Violet, you're turning violet.
Yeah, I know. So The few things I picked up, because like I said, it's just kind of like a general conversation, and you've heard some of the things before. Like everybody, like John Shepard, the guy who plays Tommy, and his work ethic, like you could tell he put in effort to like study trauma victims and how they would act. The guy who played Reggie, which is Shavar Ross, who's played on shows like Different Strokes and the show Gary Coleman had as a kid. I can't remember what that one was called.
It's not All in the Family, is it?
No, it's not All in the Family. That's no. Oh shit!
What you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about, Willis? This is the Gary Coleman Show, dog.
That ain't what it's called.
It's a 30-minute Saturday morning animated series.
No, this is
I'm
not
just
an
fucking
animated
That's
show.
not it.
That sure shit ain't it.
It's Different Strokes.
For different
Yeah, but you said
folks.
a different stroke off.
Jesus.
That's what the director was doing in this movie.
So Shavar played on, like I said, Different Strokes, and so he was a pretty good child actor. Everybody liked him. He didn't come across as like the normal child actor. Everybody, it's kind of bratty and shit. He got along with everybody. The movie had
I like
an X rating. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say a stupid non sequitur, but I like the part where you're introduced to his character and he's like, "You scared of spiders? You scared of rubber spiders? You scared of throw spiders on strings? You scared of rubber spiders on nylon strings?
Boy, you were back.
You scared of rubber spiders on nylon strings with wooden handles?"
What if I tied him to the front of a bulldozer?
Would you be scared then?
What if the bulldozer was coming at you at an extraordinarily slow speed from 30 yards away and you just stood there and watched as it was coming towards you?
What if the bulldozer had a 3/4 tank of gas?
All right, let me get through these notes. We can talk about the movie. So the wood sex scene was one of the first things they shot, and when they go, like the thing is like when these movies are sent to the MPAA to have a rating, they're sent back with notes for things that need to be cut down to make an R rating because you can't have an X rating in theaters. So it originally got an X rating. It came back with 25 notes. All the kills had to be cut down. Like at this point, MPAA was like completely just
Oh yeah, I mean
dog.
that was very obvious in this movie. That's something I thought about while watching it. I was like, man, we're still in that phase where like the MPAA is just like throttling the shit out of these movies.
Yeah, every death in this movie got like really fucked over.
Well, I don't think you see a single death like actually like happen. You know what I mean? Like the camera never once shows the direct like hit or anything that like kills anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It sucks, but it's just what happens. At part 7, gets really fucked over. Like they hired a special effects artist to be the director of that movie. He had all these gnarly ideas for kills, and that movie got completely fucked over when you get to that part.
They just show Jason showing up in the same room and like them screaming, and then it just cuts to the next scene, and it's like, oh no, Charlie's dead.
Well, there's a scene where this kid gets his head like crushed, but it's not like how you've seen the kill where Jason will grab him side to side with his head and crush their head that way.
Yeah.
This one was he grabbed him from the top of his head and bottom of his jaw and was crushing his head that way. You could see the blood pouring out of Jason's hand as he's doing it, and it was a fucking cool ass kill, but it got cut down. Like I saw that deleted scene. It just kind of sucks. And a lot of the deleted scenes off these movies don't make it because Paramount just gets rid of the negatives. They're like, fuck it, it's just taking up room. For the scene where Tina gets killed with the shears, the head makeup, the prosthetic that they had put on for her, took about a 3-hour process to get put on for her, which is a very good prosthetic, I'm not going to lie. At the end of the movie, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when Pam's running through the rain, there are shots of her having a pink sweater on, and then there's no sweater, and then there's a pink sweater, and then there's no sweater.
I didn't.
And there's a pink sweater. And then
I didn't notice that.
Okay, so Pam, the actress Melanie Kyman, said this. She goes, "It ruined the movie. Like I can't watch a movie and not notice a damn sweater." She goes, "I didn't even like the damn sweater." She said, I can't believe Paramount editing screwed it up. And then the editor came out and said some mean things about her, saying, well, if your acting was good enough, nobody would notice the sweater. And it's like, it's kind of glaring. Once I started noticing, I'm like, okay. But to be honest with you, I mean, this is going to sound perverted, and I don't care. But when she's running through the rain and I see her titties jiggling, I'm not really thinking of a sweater. Because she's obviously not wearing a bra in that dress shirt. I'm sorry.
It sounds like that editor is a real sour little bitch because
he's a sour puss.
Obviously he didn't do his job properly, and he's gonna get mad that he got called out on it. So
said,
if that guy's still alive somewhere and hasn't died of a cigarette overdose, then fuck that guy.
Probably so.
Maybe if you were cooler, then my job wouldn't have been shittier. Okay. I would have maybe I would have done a better job. Okay,
hey, editor,
it's not my fault.
Hey, editor Mike, maybe if you weren't such a fucking virgin.
Fuck her, man. It's not my fault.
Oh, okay. So one last little bit, and then I'm done with my notes. We can just talk about the plot. The second commentary was Danny Steinman, the director, John Shepard, who played Tommy, Shavar Ross, who played Reggie, and then I didn't catch his name, but it was a producer they had phoned in, so he was watching it. And they were all having a good time with this. Like, the women were trying to have a conversation, and you feel like it was kind of in-depth. These guys were cracking jokes and shit, just having a good time. When Tommy wakes up, and he's having that dream, so he has to take those pills, and he sees a vision of Jason, I thought it was kind of cool, like the movie magic. The pills he's taking are just breath mints.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Like you can notice that they're just breath mints.
No. He says it. He goes. They ask him, like, "What are those pills?" He goes, "Oh, they're just breath mints." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Okay.
Tommy, when he gets mad, the dude's wearing his mask and he flips him over the table and starts beating the shit out of him. That scene
was hilarious.
It was funny when he was beating the hell out of the guy. He was punching sandbags, so he was doing that scene. I found out Danny Steinman never met Harry Manfredini, the guy who did the music for the movie. They also go nuts about the sweater in the commentary. They talk about it like, I can't believe the fucking sweater. They're having fun with it though. They were all kind of disappointed that 5 is pretty much ignored by part 6 and how the story went. And John at the end he came up to the Danny and had like 2 or 3 pages written of like a dialogue he wanted to have for the ending scene when Pam comes in there. And Danny told him, he goes, "You say like 2 words in the movie and you want to talk now? That ain't fucking happening."
Is Tommy in the 6th movie?
Yes, but it's a different actor playing Tommy.
Okay, because I was wondering whenever I was watching this one, because obviously we've played Friday the 13th, the video game, and it's like in that you can come back to life as Tommy Jarvis or whatever, and he's like wearing like a denim jacket and he's got like a long rifle or whatever, and I'm like, Tommy? I'm guessing that's part 6 Tommy.
Yeah, it's part 6 Tommy.
Okay, because when watching this, I was like, I don't know how the fuck they got that idea from this Tommy in this movie.
I know, yeah. Which I'm excited. Oh, go ahead.
It would be cool if they put this Tommy in and they just have him just stand there, fucking silence the whole time.
Hey, I came back as Tommy. What can I do? Just stand.
Yeah, you can't even move. You're just stuck in place.
You can only do something if it's part 5, Jason, that they're going against. Other than that, you're screwed.
Until another player comes up to you and like shouts out to you. It's the only time you get to move.
That is funny. Like, and I was surprised that Cody. I mean, I think Cody, he said when he put the movie on, he knew this is the one that had the fake Jason.
Yeah.
But there's a part 5 Jason costume in the Friday the 13th game where he has the blue hash marks and shit.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. I mean, that Friday the 13th game is like the purest love letter to the franchise you could ever have, and people still shit on the game for some reason. But getting into the plot, and this movie is not completely ignored by part 6. There's Tommy is leaving the nut house at the beginning of the movie, and he's driving a blue truck that looks like the blue truck in this movie. So I think that truck is supposed to be the same truck. They just don't bring any of the actors or actresses back. Like Pam, Reggie, and Tommy, the guy John Shepard, were supposed to come back in part 6. They all 3 got 2 movie deals. And then they said John didn't want to do it because he was overly religious I mean, he is like a born again Christian, but I think he also said he was disappointed that they were just going to bring Jason back and not have him as a killer. Like that was the original plan, but they pivoted when this movie that people weren't receptive to this movie. They wanted to see Jason have a fun time. Like they don't have to like this movie. You don't have to have an overarching like thing, and people don't realize like you can't replace who's behind the mask and it be the same. Like, you know, you can't put Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Darth Vader costume and it be the same. You can't, like, and for me, I think a lot of people still feel that way. I haven't mentioned it in a long time. You can't put somebody else in the Scorpion costume and call him Scorpion. It just doesn't work. I mean, it has to be Hanzo Hasashi. This has to be Jason Voorhees. You can't just make a different killer. We've talked about another movie, Cody, that did this. Halloween Ends. And it's like, you guys, that movie came out in 2021 or 2022. And it's like, you guys, this happened in Friday the 13th Part 5 and everybody shit on it. Like, why would you do this again? But it's just one of those things. It's like, you know, they gave it a shot and ultimately the word of mouth. Like I said, it made $21 million, but I think it made like, at the opening weekend, I want to see real quick. I think the opening weekend was over $10 million. It debuted its opening weekend at $8 million. And it beat Porky's Revenge and a couple of other movies and shit like that. But, you know, so 21 million, and it was in theaters for, I don't know, it didn't tell me how much, like, it's in theaters. But it's like, you know, so you made $8 million your first weekend, and you only made 21. So it kind of like, that drops down pretty fucking quick. Oh shit, I didn't know what I fucking just did there. Okay. So, talking about the plot. The movie starts out with Tommy walking through the woods, as we mentioned. This is a dream sequence, as you find out in a few seconds. He's walking through the woods. He sees Jason's grave, which is the only grave in a graveyard.
And he said, thinks to himself, one day I'll be an opening act for Limp Bizkit.
It's buried It's buried 2 inches into the ground.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Well, thankfully it's a dream sequence, right? Because otherwise, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, why is this coffin buried like literally? They dug like a 2 foot deep hole and put like 2 inches of dirt on top of it. It's like,
yeah, I was thinking that like when I was watching the dudes dig, and they were like, "Come on, dig!" Like the whole time, I was like, "Dude, like." Digging a hole is fucking tough, dude. Like,
yeah.
Well, the dirt is like
You'd
super
be fucking
loose.
exhausted.
Yeah, like you wouldn't be like, hey, "Come on, dig, man."
Well, the dirt is like
fucking...
just like extremely loose. Like
that's it looks like mulch.
Yeah,
yeah.
It looks like mulch. It does not. It looks like that shit was buried the day before.
Man, this dirt kind of smells like your mom.
So. In this scene, these guys come up, "We're gonna dig up Jason," and they dig him up, and they open up this very cartoonish-looking casket, which is like 5 planks of wood held together by another plank of wood. And they pull it up, and you see Jason laying there with these cartoonish, long night crawlers, 3 of them hanging out of each eye socket.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like these things are fucking huge. Like when you think about that movie, what is it, Holes, where they eat a worm or some shit? Is it Holes that they do it? There's a movie, I can't remember, some book I read in middle school, and they talk about eating a worm.
They do the Boogeyman from WWE.
That's true too. Yeah, it looks like some shit like that. And then Jason is buried with a mask and a machete. And the machete, he just, he stabs both guys. He gets up, walks towards Tommy, and Tommy's like, "No!" And it's a dream sequence. So Tommy's being taken to how do they put this?
It's like some kind of, it's not a mental asylum, but like some kind of like...
It's a halfway house.
Well, it is a mental institute. It says that on the side of the van or whatever.
Yeah, it's for like troubled youths or some shit like that.
He's coming from a mental assignment. So the thing goes, he had numerous psychiatric hospitals he's been in. And he's transferred to the Pine House halfway house. So that's who's transferring him. That guy, the van, who's the dude's looking at a Playboy magazine. He works at the Nut House. They're transferring Tommy to halfway house.
Gotcha.
Bust nuts. They bust nuts at the nut house, if you didn't know.
They do bust nuts. So Tommy's quiet throughout this whole entire movie, just like kind of staring at the ground. Like there's a scene, and Danny talked about it in the commentary, where Pam and the main guy who runs the halfway house are talking to him, and Danny just told John, he goes, just stare at that fucking zipper, don't even look up at him. And that's how he wanted the scene. Like Tommy's just focused on this. You have, let's see, a circle of teens, Eddie and Tina. The stutterer Jake is how it's put on the Wikipedia page, not me.
I don't even
Punk
remember
rocker
that character.
Violet.
From
Yeah, no,
oh wait, I kind of do. Maybe I don't know. I don't remember any of these characters except
he's,
Tommy.
He's the one that's trying to hit on the redhead chick. He's like, but cut that out, Cody.
He's like, give me that pussy. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and then you have like Reggie. Reggie's granddaddy works at the house. His grandfather George. That scene where George gets thrown through the window with his eyes cut out. And then
I love this fake Jason's just fucking throwing people through windows.
I love how he has all the Jason tropes. Like Jason copied from
he's
his
like,
mother.
He's invincible and shit too. Like he gets stabbed and just walks it off. They must be putting some fucking strong, like, being a paramedic must be fucking tough work. Must have harsh training or something.
There's something else other than fluoride in that Crystal Lake waters, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's the 80s. They were all on steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably
I think most of the people who made this movie were probably on coke, so it would track if he actually did get stabbed and walked it the fuck off.
Like, ow.
It'd be like the end of Scarface, where he's getting like shot a bunch of times.
Yeah, it would be. Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. Probably the funniest character in this movie, Ethel and her son.
Yeah.
They fucking come up because Eddie and Tina get caught screwing her in her yard. They think the cops think they've escaped Ethel's wrath, but Ethel rides up and she's like, I want this crazy bin shut down. And their son's like, you tell him, Ma. And she looks back at him and then she says something else and goes, say it like you mean it, Ma. And then she turns around and delivers the greatest line of this movie, which is played at the beginning of this episode. Would you shut the fuck up? And it's like, you can see everybody in the scene laughing. I think it's legitimate laughter for that shit. And she doesn't break character.
When these two characters show up, I was starting to get a little bit worried about the movie. I was like, oh no, is this going to be like just really bad? Because they're for one, they're just extremely irritating, but they're like so like over the top, cartoonish caricatures of, and it kills me. I hate that so many movies do this, but they are like caricatures of like stupid Southern people, and but anytime like movies, especially back then, have like uneducated, dumb people or characters, it doesn't matter if they're in fucking Alabama or if they're in fucking Oregon, they sound like they're from the deep South. Yeah. And it's like, well, they sound Southern, so they must be stupid.
Why are there two Alabama people in a movie that's supposed to take place in New Jersey?
Yeah.
So, Cody, you're saying you're not a fan of the moron on a motorcycle?
No, I will say this. I think they play their parts well, and they play it up to where you want them to get killed. I think they're the only ones that really do it that well.
Yeah, they do that well. I mean, I think the delivery was really funny. Like the guy on the bike. You really do want to see him get killed.
The lady who plays Ethel, let me see what her name is real quick. She played in a movie with what's his name? Burt Reynolds. I'm not gonna look it up because I don't care about the
Marlon
movie.
Brando.
And Marlon Brando. Where the fuck is Ethel?
He came back. He said, I gotta do one last movie.
He said, I was in the grave and I heard this sweet, sweet sound, and I had to come back for one more.
They dug his ass up like they do Jason in the beginning.
Yeah.
Can I spoil how I feel about this movie? So this movie sucks, but I think it's really funny So I actually really like this movie. Like this movie's really shit, but it's really funny.
I'll join in and say I actually didn't mind this one that much, and it's definitely not my least favorite of the 5 that we've done so far.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I figured with how this went, like how you guys were like. I mean, I thought like I only have 2 options where they're really gonna like these movies. If you didn't like part 2, that was gonna be part 4 and part 6. But seeing how you guys have went like ass over tea kettle when it comes to reviewing these movies, and I kind of
I looked up the reviews. I'm like, this is the worst rated Friday the 13th movie, and I was like,
it's crazy
outside of, I was like, I mean, they're all like tongue in cheek, right? But I mean, I get, like not having Jason be the killer is a big turnoff, and the death scenes, most of them kind of suck.
Yeah, so. But I mean, that's the same thing with part 4 though. Like the death scenes are like really like just edited down, but I'll say a big reason why I did prefer this one over a couple of the other ones is they finally got away from let's take a bunch of teenagers, load them up in a car, and drive them off to some location where they're all going to get hunted down by Jason. Like,
yeah, it doesn't feel entirely like a retread.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, there's this halfway house or whatever. It's kind of out on its own, but there's a genuine enough reason for people to be gathered together that's just not like, oh, let's take a trip in the same fucking 3-day span to the same area and all get murdered.
Let's fucking suck while these people are being killed.
Yeah, it's like, so to me, that's a huge plus for the movie is that finally we got away from that formula that they had kind of been doing for the first few movies.
Well, I liked in this one that like the characters that I didn't want to die didn't die, and all the characters that I wanted to die, they all died. Hell, some of them died immediately as soon as I was like, I hope this motherfucker dies.
Yeah.
As soon as they're introduced.
Yeah, like the guy on the motorcycle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you only have 2 scenes of him, and then he immediately fucking dies.
Like, I knew, like I said, when I was watching this movie, I'm like, I bet you they're going to like this fucking movie. And me and Alex...
I mean, I don't even think it's a fucking good movie. Like, it's like a...
No, I know that. I'm just saying, I bet you... I mean, it doesn't have to be a good movie for anybody to like it. I ain't saying that. Yeah. I'm just saying, I just kind of figured, like, since you guys didn't like Part 4, and Part 4 is the one that successively, like, pulls off Jason and takes itself seriously and has a little bit of humor in it and has real-life, like, characters, and you guys hated that movie... It's like, good Lord, man, they're gonna fucking like the worst ones in these franchises.
Yeah, to me, this one falls right in the middle of the 5 that we've done, with 3 and 4 being 3 is my least favorite, and 4.
I don't even remember.
5.
I don't remember the difference between 2 or 3. I don't remember what happens in either of them.
One of them's got a potato sack, one's got a hockey mask.
And
I remember that.
3 is the 3D one. So a lot of my problem with 3 is that a lot of the kills just felt like they feel too like cheesy or corny, I guess, because they're trying really hard to make the 3D work in the movie, which I'm sure it probably did at the time, yeah. But watching it I think. No, go ahead. Sorry, I'm just saying, like watching it in modern day on a regular TV, it's like it doesn't play well, so.
If you watch 3 on a 3D TV with 3D glasses, I've been told the effects work great. If you see it in a 3D theater, like when they have like an anniversary showing of it, the movie looks fucking great. The kills look great. It looks like how it's supposed to look. When you watch it on a regular screen, it just like, oh, okay, that's just kind of obnoxious. It's in your face.
Yeah,
but it's supposed to be.
And unfortunately, I mean that's like what we have, right? Because
I know. I'm just saying, like that's what the kills are with that. I'm just like, for me, I mean, I understand one's the first one everybody holds in reverence. I don't hold part 1 in reverence. I didn't watch that one first.
Well,
I mean, if the movies don't have Jason in them, they don't interest me. So,
to me,
this 1, 5, and 9 are kind of like at the bottom. 9's the worst fucking movie of the franchise, without a doubt.
To me, as someone who did go back and watch 1 after seeing different parts or a few of the entirety of a few different of the later ones, Going back to 1, it is kind of like, I guess to me it's a little more refreshing because it's like, oh, it's so clever that they're kind of like playing it up like, oh, this Jason drowned in the lake and all that stuff, and it turns out to be his mom, right? Whereas 2 is actually, out of the first 5 that we've covered, 2 is my favorite one.
I can feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be 2, 1, 5, 4, 3 so far.
2, 1, 5, 4, and 3.
Yeah. And again,
Okay.
3
Owen,
three
how
falls.
would you say it?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
Because like I said, I don't remember 2 or 3.
Well,
it's completely
think
left my
2
brain.
2 is the one with the sheriff, right? Or where he gets hit. He
The
gets
hammer in the back of
stuck
the head
in
of the
his
sheriff.
Okay, yeah, I kind of remember that. I remember the final girl from the second one, but that's really all I remember. Which one had the guy in the wheelchair fall down?
That was the second one.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I don't know. Maybe 2 and 3. They can. I don't even. I had a rating last time. I don't even remember what I said there.
Yeah, I just edited it not that long ago, and I don't remember what you said either. The reason I remember my ranking is because I keep a ranked list on Letterboxd or whatever. So every time I watch one, I'll like go in, I'll give it a star rating, and then I'll put it in the list, and I'll organize it based off of that.
Yeah.
So
I remember 4. Like I remember, and I mean, part of that might just be because that's the last one we did. But I mean, I remember like most of the kills and shit in that one, and the characters.
Yeah, that one had more memorable actors. You know, for me, if I was going to rank them, I'm pretty sure I would go 4, 2, 3, 1, and 5.
I think 4 had more interesting stuff going on out of the first 4 because it has like, yeah, it has the camp, shit going on with the teens and stuff, but it also has like the family thing on the side with
Vin Diesel.
Yeah, with Vin
dude,
Diesel.
I was thinking it's all about family.
It's all about family. That's really what these movies are all about. So.
Yeah, they're about family and farts and fuck
And
you. You can't do what I do.
Boobies.
I get it. I kind of like this movie escaped that kind of trope it was falling under, and long-term fans of this franchise, they love Jason. Like if you nail Jason, everything else is kind of forgivable. And like I've talked to Alex, like Venom is the Friday the 13th of comic book movies. Like people shit on them critically, but fans love the movies because you at least nail Venom and he looks great. If you nail Jason and he looks good, the rest of the movie's kind of forgivable. That's all you really care about. Part 4 for me is the best Jason because he's an angry Jason. He doesn't walk. He's not like Part 3. He's kind of clumsy when he gets to the final and gets knocked over by the girl a couple times. Part 4, he's fucking running around. He's aggressive and shit, and that's why I just love it. Part 6 is another favorite Jason of mine. I am extremely curious to see how Part 6 plays out with you guys because it's either going to be you hate the movie or you like the movie based off your things. It doesn't have the same tropes.
Is it funny?
It has more humor in it. No, it's a lot more humor in the movie, but Jason, there's nothing poking fun at Jason in the movie. So you still take him seriously when you get to Part 6. I don't want to talk about anything else because, like I said, I have a buffer movie between this and Part 6 that we'll talk about at the end because I want to make sure we have a palate cleanser by the time we get to 6. Part 6 is my favorite one. Alex will say Part 4 is his favorite. 4 is my favorite 3 days out of the week, and 6 is my favorite the other 4 days of the week. But this one, like I said, we can go like just real quick. There's like a bunch of kills. Tina and Eddie have sex, which lasts like a couple seconds. To be honest with you, he lasted longer than I would have.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, damn, dude, my man has no endurance.
But that chick right there was hot. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what he was saying. He was like, oh, sorry.
Cody, you watched The League, didn't you? That show?
Yeah.
Okay, so John LaJoie is the guy who plays in that show. He plays a guy named Taco. And John got famous on the internet because he posted a bunch of songs. Everyday Normal Guy. Trying to think, he did a lot of like commercials and stuff like that. He's like, now introducing Hands, and it's just he's fucking hilarious. Well, he got out of the comedy writing, like comedy songs writing, started writing like folk songs, and he made a band called Wolfie's Just Fine, and it was really weird. Like it took me back that he started doing serious music, but he did a song called Wolfie's Just Fine. It's called A New Beginning, and he talks about that sex scene in the song from part 5, how he fell in love with the girl and the killer's about to kill her and he wants to save her and shit, and the music video reenacts the movie and it has him running through the forest. It's really good. It's a good music video, to be honest with you, for something that didn't get a lot of airplay. So that was like a culture thing. Alex said, I can't think about that movie and not think about that. I go, yeah, it makes sense. I did tell Alex, this is a funny ass response. I go, man, I'm in the middle of watching Friday the 13th Part 5 3 times for the podcast. So I sent him that at 6:57 Friday night. 11:04 a.m. Saturday, he texts me back, God damn, that's too many times before that movie. And I'm like, I agree. I agree. Let me see here. So they get killed.
I want to say this is where my favorite kill in the movie is. As lame as a lot of the kills are because of the editing or whatever. My favorite one is, what did you say the guy's name was? Eddie.
Yeah, the fucking leather strap across the face and the dude's twisting it.
Yeah. That's my favorite kill of the movie.
Yeah,
that's
that one was
pretty fucking cool. I think how it worked when he puts the strap over his eyes. And there's a picture of the makeup they have for the after shot. Obviously, we don't get a chance to see it, but I think there's a tube that's in the strap, and when he's like twisting it, someone's pumping the blood to come through the strap like that. I think that's how it works. I think a lot of that behind the scenes shit is really cool.
I thought you said they're pumping the cum through the strap.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, he did that earlier. I will say this. This lady who played Tina was casted for 2 reasons. Because they originally had another lady who was going to play the role of... Well, did I say Tina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying this is Deborah Voorhees, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I know the 2 reasons then.
Yeah, it's because of her titties and her name is Voorhees.
Yeah.
But the original actress who actually gets a role in part 6 was told, okay, when she got the part and she was told, okay, you want to take your top off for the scene, have sex scene. She goes, well, I don't mind doing it, but you need to talk to my agent. We didn't agree upon that. Then they got mad, or the director got mad, and they ended up casting Deborah Voorhees, who ends up being a director in real life herself before those 2, 3 good reasons. 2 of them are a package deal, if you know what I mean.
The director got mad. He said, do you know who I am? I directed Big Juicy Butts Part 4.
He's like, I'm a big name in Hollywood, okay? So either you show your titties or you're blacklisted.
Yeah. So they get killed. I'm trying to think like other good kills. Because you don't, like Cody says, you don't see a lot of them. Like the scene before the bigger kid, Joey, who ends up getting... It's the weird part is you have this character, like the halfway house. I don't know why he's there. Like the backstory is he didn't have a family. His mom died when he was a baby or during childbirth. The dad skipped town. So he's passed through all these homes. So he's in his halfway house. He's kind of the klutzy, like he's got chocolate all over his face, which is fucking annoying.
And every one of his pockets has a chocolate bar in them.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude.
It's like the most comically, like, 80s version of, like, the fat kid ever.
Yes, 100%. And then Vic is this very aggressive dude chopping wood. And he
badly,
leave me alone.
Very badly chopping wood.
Yeah, I thought that too. It's like, dude, you've been chopping, like, you've done, like, 15 or 20 chops at this point, and it doesn't look like you've made a single, like...
You're supposed to hold the wood vertically, not horizontally, dude.
To be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if Danny was fucking with him and had him do that just so he can keep chopping. I was told, not told. I think someone told me personally this is what happened. No, like in the commentary when you see Tommy a lot, he's always sweating, And they're like, they asked him in the commentaries, like, how do you get all that sweat worked up? Are they just spraying you with a water bottle? And he goes, no, actually, I'm doing a bunch of push-ups between takes. So he gets all sweaty before the scenes. I'm like, I'm not quite sure that Danny isn't fucking with some of these people and making them do more work than they have to. But Victor gets mad, chops Joey up. Then you have the first scene, which as a kid watching the movie, I didn't pick up on. You see the paramedic Roy looking up at the screen ominously. And then the murders start happening, which is kind of funny because the guy who killed his son got away. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't kill him. Like, I wouldn't have, and for the story purposes, and someone made a good point on one of the commentaries I got. I think it was the chick who played Pam. She said, like, it's crazy that he got away. Why didn't they just, like, not let him escape? And then you can think either he was a killer or he would get killed to get payback for it.
Yeah, that would be like a better setup, I guess. But
So-
it would be a little bit more obvious, I guess.
So Vic escaped? Is that what you're saying?
What?
Wait, what are you talking about?
He what?
Are you
No,
talking
no, Vic, he's the one that killed Joey. He's the reason that everything started and he didn't get killed. He got arrested.
Oh, yeah. But when you said he escaped, I thought like you meant like he escaped like like custody and everything. I was like, I thought he got arrested or whatever.
No. I'm saying it would have been better if he did escape. That's what they were saying on the commentary.
I got you.
I like how
So-
even there, like, the story is stupid. Like, the reason I didn't pick up that it would be the paramedic was because, like, this would be like, you know, in the scene where they're, like, at the sheriff's office or whatever the fuck. It'd be like if one of the killers was, like, one of the cops in the background. Like, I mean, yeah, I would have never have guessed it, but, like,
Sort
I mean,
of like a specific Halloween movie. Lance.
Oh,
know
yeah. Which one are we talking about? Halloween Ends?
No. What was it? Was it H2O? Where like you think that Michael Myers gets his head chopped off or whatever, and then like in the next movie they're like, oh no, Michael switched with the security guard or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
That sucks.
he pulled the
Well,
old
I mean-
switcheroo.
Let me add, at this point, I would say this because I understand. Okay, some movies are artistic expressions, and some movies are just cash grabs.
Yeah.
So they tried the Halloween thing, where it's like Halloween is going to be a different movie every time, and it failed miserably because the fans wanted to see Michael. The fans are what drove the money, and nothing against Halloween 3. I love that movie. If it wasn't called Halloween 3, it would have made a shit ton of money. But unfortunately, it was called Halloween 3, and everybody's expecting Michael Myers at this point. So you get this Friday the 13th Part 5, and they were trying to do something new, but the fans ultimately were like, no, we don't fucking like this. I mean, Part 6 didn't make as much money as Part 5, but Part 6 is the only Friday the 13th movie other than, I want to say, the original that got any positive reviews. Like, Siskel and Ebert actually gave Part 6 like a decent review.
Mhm.
Part 6 is fucking phenomenal, but like when you change up a formula, people don't care about that. They don't care like some artistic thing. We just want to see, like, give us the explanation, we can get to the next part. It doesn't really matter. So I understand the Akkads when you get to Halloween 8. And Jamie Lee Curtis is like, I want to kill off Michael.
Yeah, people
And
don't
it's
like.
okay,
People don't
I
like
understand
when
you want
you.
to kill off.
People really don't like when you change the formula. Just ask. Norman Osborn.
Oh, yeah.
Back to formula.
It's back to formula.
The Krabby
So
Patty
it's like-
secret formula.
Yeah, back.
So
to
like, let me
remember,
ask you guys.
Go
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go.
No, go ahead. I was going to go in a different discussion. Keep going, though.
No,
I
you go.
thought you were confused as to what I was referencing, but I was.
Oh, no. I got the part, like, the back to formula.
Is that
I'm not
Spider-Man?
stupid, Cody. Come on now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
Spider.
No. It's Venom 2. You haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, wait, no, it's not.
It's the lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
It's
yeah.
like
I remember that.
where he's fucking the
The bed.
It's when he jizzes everywhere.
No.
He's like, back to formula.
oh god.
That's when he
Shut
farts.
the fuck
He's
up.
like, oh, the
So-
formula.
So real quick, we'll go through like the thing. So everybody gets killed except for Reggie and Tommy. It turns into a whodunit. There's Jason shows up, but he's wearing a mechanic suit. kind of like Michael Myers, and the mask is different, and his eyes are really nice and blue. There's a final battle where Tommy shows up. It's in a barn, kind of like in part 3, which is kind of funny. So Jason ends up falling off a barn again, even though it's not Jason. Like I said, I would say the last scene, or when Pam and Reggie are running through the woods when it's raining, is when it kind of picks back up when they're being chased after you finally see this guy that looks like Jason. I think that's the best part of this movie, to give it as much props as I can emotionally, because this movie was not a favorite of mine. And then Jason gets knocked off. Well, I think it's pretty cool, the fake out when Reggie hits him. It looks like he goes over the top of the barn, and then he comes up and grabs Reggie's leg, and then Tommy shows up with a machete and fucking cuts his wrist. And you don't see it, but it looks like the fucking blood pouring out. It's like, god damn. So he falls off the thing into I don't even know what the fuck this thing is. It's almost like Mortal Kombat when Shang Tsung goes into the spikes. But he goes into the spikes. Not only is this guy wearing a Jason hockey mask, he's also wearing a bald mask to go around his face.
I thought that too. I was like, did he have like professional makeup like on standby, like after this paramedic job?
Yeah, see, the thing is, you wouldn't have recognized him if he just shaved his head, because they only showed him for 5 seconds at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I like at the end too, like it took me a little while to get like who the fuck like they had to show a picture in his wallet while they were talking about him to be like, you remember this guy?
Yeah, dude, I remember, like, I think the first time I watched this movie, I missed the scene where Pam runs into the main guy who's got a spike through his head, and you see him dead in the forest. I thought it was him, because I missed that scene. Like, I guess the first time I watched it, I went to go pee or something like that, and came back, and I'm like, well, okay, I didn't realize. I thought it was him, because you can't really tell who the fuck it is. You're
well,
like,
I was confused about the, when he takes the wallet out and he shows like, oh yeah, this was his son, Joey or whatever. And I didn't realize it was the guy from the beginning of the movie. I thought it was like the fat, goofy guy from like, what was it, part 2 or 3 or something? Or it's like there's the guy.
Yeah, that guy's
like,
dead though.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I thought they were talking about. I thought they were like, oh yeah, he's been a paramedic and that was his son.
Okay.
So whenever he's like,
you completely forgotten Joey.
Yeah, when he was like, oh, he was hacked to pieces. I was trying to think, I was like, how did that guy die? I don't remember anyone being hacked to pieces in this movies.
Why did he kill all these random people anyway? Like, why didn't he, like, I don't know. It's just like...
Because he wanted to get his dick wet and they all told him no.
He's like, I want pussy now.
I will say this. Cody goes, yeah, he wouldn't shave his head because you wouldn't recognize him. But in reality, he wouldn't shave his head because he had a glorious head of hair. Why would you shave your head? Yeah, if I had hair like that, I would keep it long for days. Yeah. But no, the character, like, why wouldn't you go kill the motherfucker that killed your son?
Yeah, really.
Or kill, like, the other paramedic that was making fun of your son's dead body, but he's just, like, killing Michael Jackson.
Oh, he did kill him,
though. Really? When?
Yeah, like, they run up on the paramedic, the car, not an ambulance, but a car, and they open the door, and you see his head comes back, and he's got his throat slit, and he got the blonde hair.
Huh. I must have, I don't know, been looking away or some shit when that happened.
You were rewinding the part where you're seeing Tina's titties. You're like, Rrr.
I said, pause this. Enhance.
Enhance. So that's, and then you find out that it was Roy, the guy you've seen a couple times as a paramedic. It is revealed in the movie that Jason's body has been cremated.
Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, they definitely ignore that shit then.
Well, they say it was cremated. But in part 6, the retcon explanation was somebody paid for the burial. And there's a deeper reason for that, and I will get into it when we get to part 6, that I will like. I think you guys will think, oh, that's kind of cool.
The coroner was just attracted to Jason's dead body. He's like, I need a little more time with this.
I got to pee real quick.
This guy.
Oh, so, okay. 1 sec.
Yeah, Roy has to be the least intimidating name ever. And there was a killer gone the loose named Roy. Dun dun dun. I do want to talk about while Owen's off pooping or whatever he's doing. I want to talk about
pooping?
What's her name? Bethel? Deborah?
Ethel.
Ethel, when her son comes back and he's riding around on a motorcycle like a Nimrod, and
I'm making your supper.
she's like, "Come in here and eat this stew I made for you." It's like, you haven't made it yet. You're making it as you're telling him to come in and eat it. You're still throwing the vegetables.
She spits in it too.
Yeah, but she's literally cutting or breaking the vegetables and throwing them in the pot. Which, by the way, why do they need like a 5-gallon pot of stew for 2 people?
Hey man, redneck shit, dude.
It's like, hey, we're gonna be eating this for 10 days. Just ignore that mold in there. It'll be fine.
Oh Lord, dude, that shit. Like I said, she's the highlight of the movie. Like that mayor, the director Danny Steinman said the mayor he miscast that dude. Like that dude was annoying to him.
Yeah.
But I think Ethel plays her part perfectly, and she's hilarious. Like that, I think that line where she goes like, "Would you shut the fuck up?" was like ad libbed.
Mm.
Like there's some scenes in here where they ad libbed the thing to make it make it more fun and shit like that, and that's the take they went with. But I think Ethel's fucking hilarious, and like that line. That's why I picked her for the intro for this episode. That she is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think that scene when she says that, everyone's laughing like legitimately. I don't think they're supposed to be laughing in the scene. So even the sheriff that she's talking to is smiling in that scene. It's fucking great. She's like, "Would you shut the fuck up?" And everybody just starts giggling. I'm like, I fucking love that.
Yeah, she was good.
We got to talk about Demon real quick, which is Reggie's brother, who looks like Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Someone has edited the "Ooh Baby, Ooh Baby" into an actual song on YouTube, so if you want to check that out somewhere. I haven't looked it up. But like I said, you can't use licensed music. There's the band that Violet's listening to and she gets killed is like an Australian band. It's a real band. And they got notoriety because she was playing that song for the movie. That's the only person they got. She wanted to have a David Bowie poster, and she wanted to get killed on that. They said, no, we can't. No, it was David Bowie or Sid Vicious. I can't remember which person that she was talking about. Because she said she was playing David Bowie in one of the scenes they had edited the music out. But they couldn't use somebody like that because the estate would have wanted royalties or some shit like that, so they didn't do that. But Demon was like, he's like,
doing the robot.
Like, "Are you gonna be okay?" He goes, "It's those damn enchiladas." And he's like running to the toilet. Oh Lord, man! And it's
they have a conversation while he's just taking a shit.
You don't ever do that with your girlfriend?
No, I don't know. I have like a weird thing about like if I'm shitting, I kind of have to be in solitude.
Yeah, that's that's like don't bother me. Like,
yeah, I need complete silence and sanctuary.
I get that, man, but I'm personally like, I don't care. Like Savannah will come in there and start talking to me. It was just fine. But she'll go, "It stinks out here." And I go, "I know, I'm pooping. I'm not making Pop-Tarts."
I don't know. I can't shit like if somebody's like talking to me or something like that. I don't know. Performance.
Well, for me, most of mine's expunged in the first like 30 seconds, and then I'm just waiting for the rest to come out. So I'm not like struggling to poop.
She's like, "Lance, it stinks out here." It's like, "Well, yeah, I'm in the bathroom. What do you think I'm doing? Baking cookies?"
Yeah, that joke, I use it all the fucking time.
You should have said it smells better in here.
Larry the Cable Guy always said he'd be like, I'd be on the toilet and people coming in, he's like, "I need my toothbrush or my hairbrush," and be like, "Whoa, it stinks in here." He goes, "What do you think I'm doing? You heard me go, huh? You think I'm in here making Pop-Tarts?" I love that joke. I know it gets old, but I think that joke's fucking hilarious.
He was making what I named my fantasy team for 1 week, Fart Tarts.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord, Fart Tarts. We'll talk about your fantasy team here in a minute when we get off the air.
Yeah, that's a disaster now.
Yeah, dude, I'm winning in all my leagues right now. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm like in second or third place in the Dollar General League that I care about the most.
Yeah. We'll talk about it when we're done recording, but yeah.
So yeah, the damn enchiladas. He had a good kill though with that steel spike coming through the outhouse. Which the outhouse is made out of like aluminum siding, so it was easier to stab through. I thought that was a pretty cool visual. Like it went through his leg, and then, it was just a lucky shot. I kept thinking, why didn't he just lay down on the ground in the outhouse when he had got to that point? But anyway, So yeah, they reveal that it's Roy. Roy was actually Joey's dad. They don't know why he kept it secret. There's a scene where Tommy wakes up because Tommy was stabbed, or he was cut across the chest and bled out a lot. So he's in the hospital, and he has a vision of Jason, and then he stares at him, and then Jason disappears. And it's kind of like the evil's transferred to Tommy finally. And then Pam goes in there, and she hears the window break. She goes in the room. They think Tommy's escaped, and then Tommy comes up behind her with the mask and the thing. And the movie's supposed to lead into the next movie where Tommy's going to be the killer.
Why did they do a fake out and then just do what they were doing a fake out of?
Well, they did a fake out because every Friday the 13th movie had a fake out.
Yeah. And then they were just like,
Except
just
for
kidding.
part
It
4.
actually does happen.
No, I know. But it's actually in like part 4, there was a fake out ending, but they ended up changing it to a different ending. The fake out was, the chick, I can't remember her name, Tommy's sister in the movie. She sends Tommy, like they have the deleted ending, but there's no audio. And she sends, like Jason's dead in the floor, they wake up on the couch, and she sends Tommy over to the house to get the paramedics. Well, she starts noticing there's water coming from the ceiling. So she goes upstairs to the bathroom, and she opens up the shower curtain, and it's her mother's dead body because you don't see their mom get killed. And she's holding her, saying, "No, Mom, no, 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 no." And then behind her, you see Jason coming out from behind the door, and then her mom's eyes open, and they're pure white. And then she turns around, and she gets like hacked by Jason. That's going to be the fake out ending. But that got changed to what we got. That was just Tommy staring at the screen. And this one, you had the fake out where, like you think, like Tommy kills her, but then he doesn't kill her, but he's still a psychopath. Like, like you said, it's kind of weird. Like, just kidding. No, we're just kidding about the just kidding.
Yeah, they're like, just kidding. Or maybe. Like, so stupid.
It's pretty funny, though. Part 6 doesn't have a fake out, which is cool. Like I said, Part 6 is really different from the rest of the franchise, but in a great way. Part 6, my grandmother told me the story that her and my uncle, her youngest son, went to go see that movie 6 times one summer. So, I like I said, I love that movie. I thought it was going to be my favorite when they first told me about it. And I love it. That movie's just great. The funniness, Alice Cooper's got a fucking song in it that kicks ass. So Part 6, I can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, that was it for Part 5. Like I said, it's the Imposter Jason movie. It's got a lot of kills. There's some boobs. A lot of nice boobs. Best in the series. And like I said, the kills have been highly censored. But this movie does go. Like, there's nothing about this movie that drags. You're like, fuck, man, this movie's just kind of a drag. Now, it drags when you watch it 3 times in a row. You're kind of like, fuck, let's get to this certain point. But, there is a lot of things that do happen in this movie, so at least it's not boring in that sense. But I guess we'll get into our recommendations and if we liked it or not. We already talked about it a little bit before, but let's get the final say. I'm going to go with myself because I'm going to be negative first. Then I'll go with you guys. I don't recommend this movie unless you want to see nice titties. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We
I just want to
never,
make sure
we
I
never
didn't know if
left.
my fucking headphone cut out. No, I know. I just want to make sure my headphone didn't cut out. I'm like, oh no,
Yeah,
they talk and I'm not hearing it. I had this issue before. Like, if you want to see those nice titties, go for it. Pam says she's running around in a shirt, like a wet t-shirt contest. Like the first of its kind. She's running around and she looks like fabulous. The Jason get up for the Jason dream sequences are really cool. I think Jason looks good. The guy who plays Jason in those scenes also plays the fake Jason. And his name is, I think it's Tom Morga. I think I was saying his name incorrectly about the whole time. Let me see here. Yeah, Tom Morga. He also performed the stunt where Roy fell off the barn. So, I mean, this dude was kicking his ass. John Hawk appeared as Jason Voorhees in the opening dream sequence because Morgan was unavailable when the scene was shot. So there was a different guy playing Jason at the very beginning of this movie. But yeah, so I would like I said, man, it's in my bottom three of the franchise, and it is because there's no Jason in it. Like I do appreciate it more than I would Halloween Ends or Jason Goes to Hell. Which if I could just take the existence of that film and fucking shit on it,
I feel
and then
like
bury it, I
yeah,
would.
I feel like the difference between these two movies is that like Halloween Ends is like full of itself. Like it thinks it's trying to say something
You
profound or
didn't watch the
something.
movie, man.
Not ends. Not ends. Kills. I'm sorry. Evil dies
Yeah,
tonight.
no, we're talking about Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends is where Michael's only in it for like 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
His biggest
Yeah, that's
scene,
the last movie you missed.
His biggest
Okay.
scene is fighting with a young whippersnapper over his mask.
Yeah.
I think.
So,
That movie, I swear that movie would have been a fucking comedy if they had just added in the two scenes I wanted. Like, or Cody, that's the episode you missed, Owen. I can't remember what it was. You just couldn't make the episode, and I know you didn't watch the movie.
yeah,
But
I
Alex
didn't give
was guest
birth.
hosting. A big give birth to a chocolate demon.
I think I had
So,
a postnatal abortion on that little
oh,
bastard.
Lord. But that scene where that kid, Corey is his name, he goes into the sewer and fights with Michael for his mask, and then Michael sets up after Corey crawls out. And I wanted Michael to look at the screen like, did y'all see that? What the fuck?
The whole time they're fighting
And then-
over it, and you just hear the.
Yeah.
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 And then Cody, when they both kill the doctor and the doctor's girlfriend, and then the next thing you see Corey riding the motorcycle, and it pans up and you see Lori's granddaughter with him. I was hoping it would be Michael riding behind him with his head on his leg. That was my first thought. Like watching it on the screen, I'm like, is Michael riding bitch on this motorcycle? And it's like, oh, okay. But every time I watch it, which has only been twice, I've thought, is Michael like I've tricked myself into thinking Michael's gonna be right there. Michael's gonna be right there. Michael's gonna be right there. But this movie, this Friday the 13th movie, did establish Jason is actually dead. He's canonically dead. He's not in this movie. And
He's D.
like I said, my grandma didn't like it, so that probably influenced my earlier decisions of not liking this movie. But rewatching it, I do not like it. It's in my bottom three. I don't recommend it. You can literally watch like 2, 3, 4, skip 5, and go to 6. Like you're not missing a fucking thing. So yeah, I don't recommend this movie, and I don't really like it that well. I mean, I like the aesthetic of this is an early '80s movie, and it's a comfort, but it's a little too sleazy to be a comfort movie watch. You can't watch this around with like kids or some shit like that.
Yeah.
This isn't like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's like Five Fingers in Freddy. So I'm gonna go with Owen, and we get his recommendations.
I mean, I think it was funny enough for a watch. I could maybe. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but maybe I would if I was in the mood for a stupid ass, like, funny, dumb slasher movie. But I don't know. I'm sure there's better options out there if you're wanting something like that. Anyway, but I don't know. I liked it. Just
Huh?
I liked it.
Cody, sir?
Ironically,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you liked it for the right reason.
I liked it for
All right,
all the
Cody,
right reasons.
sir?
Yeah, I would recommend it for at least one watch. I think that if you're
Ooh,
not going
Cody going with my phrase.
if you're not going into it with like the expectation of it being Jason or anything, you won't be let down or by the twist that it's not him. I think it works fine as a Friday the 13th movie because of that. And like I said earlier, to me personally, I like it more than parts 3 and 4. Mostly because it does it changes up that formula that they had kind of been stuck in for a few movies up to this point. So
I can tell you with all confidence, you are probably one of the few people on this earth that would say you like this better than part 4. With all fucking confidence, like, oof.
I mean, I'm not saying I enjoy it. I just if I watch it again, it will probably be
No. I'm just saying you like it more than part 4. I mean,
yeah.
These
Yeah.
movies aren't your cup of tea. I get it, but it's
it's like I talked
it's
about
just-
part
it's-
4. It's just that same like setup just started to get kind of it's like, okay, I get it, and also the fact that like I talked about on part 4, if people listening to this haven't listened to that, go listen to it. But like on part 4, I talk about it's ridiculous to me that there's like 3 separate groups of teenagers that all pile into 3 separate cars and go to the same general vicinity, and they all get killed over like the same like weekend or whatever. It's just I don't know. It's a little silly. And it's too silly,
You can't get past your logic of it versus
Whereas
of the situation, the logic of the situation. I just look at it as like, man, these guys are fucking dumb.
Well, and
they're going to the same place this play guy got killed.
Yeah, and with this, like I said, I mean, they come up with a really good reason as to why there be all these people in this one location without like being so repetitive with all like, let's all this group of friends go to this place,
Yeah.
So I think it's clever in that sense, at least as far as like trying to like shake things up. Now I get that why people wouldn't like the fact that it's a copycat killer or whatever, but to me, I enjoyed it well enough to where I would comfortably put it at number 3 out of the first 5.
Yeah, I got it. I respect it. Not really, but I respect it. So that'd be it for this episode. How this is going to go is Owen's going to record a movie, and then Saw is going to be released. So the way this is going to be,
it's all going to release in the correct order. It'll release this one and then Owen's movie, and then it'll be Saw. So
yeah, okay, that's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to figure out in my head as I was openly talking about it. So Cody's next movie is going to be Saw.
Yeah,
but we've already recorded that one. The next movie that we're going to record is Owen's, and he has not picked that yet. So go ahead, Owen.
All right, I think I'm going to do. So I wanted to kind of do something weird. I want to do THX 1138. I want to do the first George Lucas movie because I feel like not a lot of people have really seen that, and it might be just kind of like
for good reason.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I've never seen it.
So
it's like an old sci-fi movie. He references it a lot in like his other movies and stuff. At least the number, but yeah, I've never seen it or anything. So since we bring up George Lucas so much, I thought it'd be funny to kind of watch something that, kind of where he got his start and see if, maybe there's some other gems in his filmography besides Star Wars. Probably not. I don't know. So we'll see.
I mean, that's cool. Well, what is the movie called again?
THX 1138.
All right. Isn't THX that fucking big sound thing that comes on before all the Star Wars movies?
Yeah, he named his like audio studio or whatever the fuck it is, technology, after the movie.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna do the T1000, whatever the fuck that is. He just said we're gonna do that movie, and then we're gonna do Saw, and then after Saw, I'm taking a 1 movie break between Friday the 13th, kind of splitting it in half, kind of sorta. Because there's 12 Friday the 13th movies. We just got done with 5. The 6 is so different from 5 and the rest of them. I wanted to have a palate cleanser so you guys kind of had a fresh, like, not exhausted view going into it. I'm going to be covering probably the greatest comic book movie of all time, Logan, and one of the greatest movies of all time, period. Like, you don't even have to put a comic book movie. You can just have anybody watch it. It's fucking great. So we're going to be doing Logan after that. And then another Owen movie. Then Cody Saw 2, probably. And good shit like that.
No.
So.
Mine won't be Saw 2 because we're going to do...
Oh, it's Nosferatu.
Nosferatu,
Woo! Yeah. I forgot about the Nosferatu coming out again. Like, within... Shit, man. Like,
it comes out Christmas Day, I think.
Over a month.
Yeah, it comes out Christmas Day, I think.
That's going to be cool as fuck. I'm going to be excited to do that. Just be cool, all three of us going to check out a movie. Like, have an immediate reaction afterwards, which we haven't done. The only thing we've done that's kind of like immediate was our little commentary on Space Jam. But it worked out well.
Yeah.
Come on and jam, and welcome to the slam.
I think you got that backwards.
Probably so. So, everyone, if you made it this far, thank you for listening. Check us out on YouTube. We release our audio versions of the podcast on YouTube. Every week we're having something drop because we have a back catalog and we have new episodes, back catalog, new episodes. So every week on Monday something drops. We just have basically a picture of a poster for the movie plan. We don't have our video plan because it's too much work. Check us out on Spotify. If you just Google Filmoscopy Podcast, our results will be the first thing. We're the only one out there called this. There's a Facebook page created in 2017 that hasn't posted anything since 2018. So it's us. So we're going to be the first thing that pops up. We're on X. We're on Facebook. On YouTube, like I said, subscribe, like, share the podcast if you think somebody would like the episode or they may hate the episode. If you want to listen to us, I fully support that because I get it. I hate listening to Nashville sports radio because I hate the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. I love listening to
you
Talk Tua.
Talk Hawk Tua, baby.
Dude, if she don't Hawk Tua, I don't want to talk to
her. Anyway, people, that's the high note we're leaving out on. But yeah, so thank you for listening. Check us out, subscribe, like, give us a comment. Like, please, fucking interact with us. I want to hear somebody that's not the 3 people I know that listen to this. And trust me, we have like close to 100 people checking out all of our episodes on YouTube, and no one's leaving a comment. Fucking say something. That's all I'm saying. Like, say hi.
Say something. I'm
Say suck my dick.
You.
If you've listened this far, leave a comment that says "suck my dick, bitch."
Yeah, that's what it is. If you've listened to this episode so far, comment on the YouTube channel or Spotify, "suck my dick, bitch," and I will know it's you.
All caps, and make sure every word has an exclamation mark after it.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, and as always, finish him
off.